What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about how to teach an adapted physical activity class. You can also call this inclusive physical activity, inclusive physical education. It would not be called adapted physical education because that would be more one-on-one and it would be more customized for each of the individual based on IEP goals. So what we're going to talk about how to plan a group class for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this could be at the university setting, high school setting, middle school setting, and even at the elementary setting where you have mentors or peers around the same age working alongside people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and then you as the administrator or coordinator help them prepare for the program, and you present a 10-week or 12-week program for the students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So if you've never taught adapted PE, an inclusive physical activity program, this is the right video for you. So we're going to go over how to create the lesson plan, how to prepare the lesson plan, and then how to implement the lesson plan. Okay? So when it comes to lesson planning, you first start with your warm-up. Now, why do we warm up? We warm up for pattern recognition. So we do, light stretching, light mobility, light active movements before going into competitive games or drills that increase or utilize gross motor skills, so like catching, throwing, and stuff like that. So if we can do things as a warm-up to increase movement competency and confidence, that will improve their self-esteem and it will prepare them for the lead-up activities. So for the warm-up, we can do a group fitness warm-up. So we can just call it group fitness, where you include flexibility, mobility, strength, perhaps a little bit of power in a group setting. So they'll be on mats, or if they have a mat, they could also step back behind their mat, so there's going to be space out on the floor. So if they do need to do some like high knees or something that's off the mat, they have that space. So first start with group fitness. So your health and skill related components of fitness, balance, coordination, stability, mobility, any type of flexibility, any type of endurance exercises you can do to get them warmed up for the class. Okay. After that, you can do another group activity. It's kickboxing, dance, or low organized game. So we'll just categorize this into low organized games or activities. We just call it a LOG, an LOG. And this is going to get them kind of warm up stage. So doing something in a social setting like dance, where you have what's called freeze dance. Freeze dance is when you have students come up to the middle, have a spot where they can maybe stand on or in front of, and have them look at the class. This will give them leadership skills, and it'll give them a chance to be themselves in front of their peers. So what you do is you have them go up in front of their peers, create their own dance while the music is on, and then you let them dance for about 30 to 60 seconds, and you do that based on their esteem level. So if you feel like they have high esteem while they're doing it and they feel comfortable, maybe do it for 60 seconds. If you feel like they're getting nervous or they're uncomfortable, only make it last for 15 to 30 seconds. So that's called freeze dance. And then once the music stops, everyone freezes. The person who leads gets the next dancer to come up and lead the class. So that's dance, that's freeze dance. You can also do a 3-step dance led by the instructor, a Zumba type of dance, or you can do any type of fall dances like the cha-cha slide, Cupid shuffle, or that type of thing. So that's one option for low organized games. Another option is kickboxing. So I like kickboxing and dance as warm-ups for intellectual and developmental disabilities because somebody utilizes a wheelchair. Both dance and kickboxing include the upper limbs. So if you're dancing, you're typically doing something with the upper body, and if you're kickboxing, you can have upper punches, hooks, and uppercuts, and if you're unable to kick, you can just continue with the upper body movements. unless you're trying to lift those knees up while you're in the chair for like a knee or a kick. So kickboxing is going to be teacher led, so you just go through each punch or kick, whether that's a cross or uppercut or a hook, front kick, side kick, and then a balance kick, like karate style. And then you can also do side kicks. Okay, you can get them to create their own combos in groups. Same thing with dance. You can also get them to create their own dance in groups based on one song, where they create a 3-step dance. Same thing with kickboxing. You can do a 3-step kickboxing drill, and then you have them come up and share the dance or the kickboxing combo with the class. So either of these can be performed for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on how you plan and teach. But group fitness is typically going to last about 10 to 15 minutes. The low organized game is also going to be 10 to 15 minutes. So we're trying to get about 30 minutes here as the warm up, and low organized game is going to take a good half or 50% of the lesson. This is going to make sure that everyone's included for all the activities, because you'll be able to plan those movements and skills for your population. So low organized game can also include any type of social game. Could be, a cooperative game like underhand tossing toward beanbag spaces on the ground, so like hula hoops. You can also have them do a sharks and minnows game. Since they're warmed up, you can have them go across court and do some tag games. So you could also do any type of extra fitness that you wanted to complete before what we're going to get into next, which is going to be the sport. So the first thing we're going to do is warm up with group fitness, a low organized game like kickboxing or dance. You can also include things like sharks and minnows. They're very easy to set up games that you can kind of get them ready for the next activity. So I do like to put power activities in here, so like jumping, hopping, that type of thing. Dynamic locomotor skills as well, so you can do some motor games and activities as well during the low organized games, getting them using their lower body and upper body based on their ability. So the first part of the activity or lesson is going to be the warm-up. The second part is going to be the sport. So the warm-up is at 30 minutes. It's going to include group fitness, low organized game, and then we're going to get into sport. Now there's two different ways that you can teach the sport. You have 30 minutes. So what we like to do is either one or days. The first method is a 1, 2, and 3 step, and then the second method, rotations. So you could either perform stations or the 1-3 method, which is 10 minutes of individual skills, 10 minutes of pair skills or small group, and then 3 would be some type of game that involves the sport with 2 sides of the class, 4 sides of the class, 4 groups, 2 groups, whatever it may be. So that's your 3-step approach if you're teaching sport. Teaching stations, this is when you can take 1, 2, 3, and 4 different, maybe 5 or 6 different activities, and have them in different quadrants of the gym or activity space. So it could be something like if we're playing hockey, be passing, shooting, puck handling, and then maybe being a goalie. I think for soccer, you could do dribbling station around cones, you have a shooting station toward nets, you have a passing station with a partner, maybe overhead throws or head balls or whatever it may be, and then 4 could be a goalie station. So making sure that you are including those goalies. Sometimes we forget that there's goalies, especially soccer, lacrosse, and whatever it may be, hockey. And then if it's going to be something like volleyball or tennis, you can have, if you're doing stations, one station where they're underhanding, volleying, or they're serving into the opposite quadrant or the diagonal quadrant, like pickle, so they're getting them ready for just serving it into a specific spot on the opposite side. You could have a station where they're just practicing in a circle, keeping the ball up. You could have a station where they're overhead smacking the ball, toward an area on the wall, and then you can have another station where they're practicing bumps or sets. So this is how we plan the sport, either stations or in a 1-2-3 step. If we're doing the 1-2-3 step, individual skills typically are going to be in a circle formation or a scattered formation. So either or, circle or scattered, everyone can see the instructor, and the instructor can see everybody. I like circle skills because everybody can see everybody, so they feel motivated to work together. Scattered, they may be able to, you will be able to see them better because you won't have your back to the wall. But so you'll have your body facing everybody when you're scattered out. So if that was good, you'd be in front of everybody, able to see. But if you're teaching in a circle and you're in the middle, you can't see half your students. So you get on the outside of the circle and teamwork. Okay. So we do individual skills. So let's just say, for example, it's handball. You just have them tap the ball back and forth, spin the ball and catch, bounce the ball and catch, throw the ball up in the air and okay, maybe dribble when the music starts. When the music stops, you have to pivot, or you get 3 dribbles and you pivot, or you have to throw it to somebody who doesn't have a ball. So these types of individual to partner or game strategies. So if it's soccer, have them dribble in space all around the gym. Maybe you have cones all over the gym. They're dribbling around the cones. Maybe you have numbers on the cones and they have to complete some type of problem. It could be letters on the cones. You can have them spell their name. So that could be the same thing for hockey, dribbling around cones, or objects in the gym like jump ropes or things that they think are cool, kind of go around. So that would be during the individual portion. When you're doing something like partners, so that's when you're passing it. So let's just say we're playing basketball. They start with a bounce pass, and then they go with they do a 2-arm chest pass, and then a 1-arm bounce pass. So the chest pass should always start with a bounce pass when you're teaching the skills with partners. So during the partner or small group, maybe you have 3 people in a triangle passing it to each other, or you have 2 people, either or. You could also do 4 people if you had to, but we like this kind of more partner related or trio related. And so if you're doing soccer, it'd be passing with an instep, and then it would be maybe passing it with a heel, just to give them a little example of how to hit it with the back of your foot. If it's hockey, just a regular pass with a partner. Then during time, this small group activity, this is when we can have 10, 15, and 20 feet away poly spots toward the wall, and use that as an aiming activity, because you can do that across the wall, across the whole gym, and you have 3 spots. You go 10, 15, 20 feet away, or you have them just try to pass in between 2 cones, or you have your soccer nets out, or your hockey nets out, or it could be another sport that involves aiming, like bowling pins, if you're doing bowling. And this is where you can perform the assessment on their ability to aim, or their ability to shoot, or you can assess their gross or object control skills when it comes to kicking or throwing. So having them throw at the wall or kick toward the wall, or even if it's 10, 15, and 20 feet away, toward the wall, that type of thing. Or underhand pass with a pickleball, and having them do 5 strikes toward the wall at each point, and have them, if it's a pickleball or volleyball, you're going to want to have X's on the wall with tape. And if it's a soccer or lacrosse, then you're going to want to have some nets. As far as basketball goes, basketball would be a little bit different. So depending on how many nets you have, let's just say you have a net here, a net here, a net here, a net here. You might want to put some poly spots around the net, like 4 poly spots around the net, and then 1 at the goal line or the field goal area, and then you might have like 1, 2, and 3 out in far distance. But have them master the layups, the short shots first before the goal line or the field, or the goal line one. So have them focus on easy shots, layups, that type of thing with a group. Maybe passing it to each other, then shooting it. Maybe do a 2v1 that situation or a 1v1 situation. That's what you can do during the second part. Any type of 1v1 where you have maybe half of the students are dribbling the ball, half of the students are trying to steal the ball. You can do sharks and minnows activity. You can do a low organized game to get them ready for the final game. So the final games, you're going to want to have quadrants in the gym. If it's soccer, you have 2 sides, 4 nets. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you'll try to have them grouped based on their ability levels. So having group 1 and 2 go against each other and have those groups pretty even, and then 3 and 4 going against each other and have them pretty even. So making sure that you're making good decisions as far as grouping goes. And then this is when you're going to have them play, whether it's hockey across court. And yeah, you're not going to have a lot of time to teach the rules and skills. You're just going to have to just play and hope for the best. Unless you want to drag out each scenario and take 15 to 20 minutes to teach the game, you could do that. You would just have to take some of this out. But generally speaking, most people get the idea of the game. You can start with the game. That's the teaching for games for understanding method, where you just start with the game just to see where they're at, and then you go through skills and drills, and then go back to the game. So whatever you prefer as far as either teaching a 1, 2, 3 method or a station method, go through a different sport each week. That keeps it kind of fun and interesting. Or perform the sport 2 weeks in a row and then perform another sport. So typically when I teach, I like to do a different sport each week, and I go in a progression format. So first week would be like skills. So that would be bowling, maybe bocce, that type of thing. The second week I would do underhand movements, underhand tossing movements. So that would include things like softball. So learning how to underhand throw the ball at a target toward the wall with a partner. Okay, and then also using the tee and bats. So that's always a good station to have if you have a wall. The third week we'll do handball. So we went from underhand throwing and swinging to underhand throwing and catching. So now we're focusing on catching here. Obviously we were doing some catching with a partner here with the softballs as well, so we're doing more catching, but now we're doing a game where you have one side versus another side. So that last game there, you can have them shooting with their arms using, you can have the barrier from the net, or you don't have to have the barrier from the net. So that depends on what you want to do. Week 4 or lesson plan 4, we'll go into basketball, since that is the best lead after handball. So you go from trying to shoot it in like a soccer size net to the basketball nets. So now that we've done that, we go into hockey. So they kind of understand the rules in of basketball. Now they're just using a long arm implement, longer implement, like a hockey stick. So they've already done some swinging here. Now they're doing a bigger swing, and now they're adding in the same type of skills as basketball, whether that's passing with a partner. So basketball activities, I like the 1, 2, 3 approach. Hockey activities, I also like the 1, 2, 3, having a dribble or puck handle around the gym, or with the handball, it's a 3-step, or you don't matter, it doesn't matter when it comes to the game. So if they go over 3 steps, it doesn't matter. So we don't really lay down the law on the rules. We just let them kind of play how they can play. Now if they can understand some of the rules, then we will broadcast those rules. So after hockey, so this is when we could go into something like soccer, because that's going to be probably one of the hardest sports to really master, I think, when it comes to invasion games. Handball's pretty tricky as well, because there's a lot of different rules. But soccer is done with the feet, so if you can't utilize your feet here, this is when we're gonna think strongly about the students in wheelchairs. So this gives you 5 weeks or 5 lessons to kind of get to know your students, especially the students that utilize wheelchairs. And then when you have soccer planned, you're gonna have to start adapting for that student, whether that's getting a bigger size soccer ball or a monster ball or a beach ball, or you're gonna have them do some type of upper body movements that time, so you're gonna have to really think strongly about that. Week 6, this is when we're gonna go into volleyball. So now we're using the net and the wall for station space and for group skills, partner skills. And then we'll go into pickleball because that will involve the same nets, so that they kind of get used to going over the net, using those boundaries. Pickleball is a little bit harder than volleyball, although I don't know, I've seen good on both ends. So then after pickleball, we would get into ultimate frisbee. Okay, that would be the hardest one. We're gonna go to football. Okay, and then after football, we go to ultimate. And then on that last day, you can just do games and some like celebration, and you do your awards. Okay, so this is kind of, you don't want to really plan for that last day until you know, it could be a sport that you haven't done yet. It could be just fun games. So don't really over plan that 10th week until you get to like week 6 or 7. You're like, all right, what do we want to do on that last day? Maybe you do all the different sports. Maybe you do just a new sport. So if you didn't get to bocce, you could do some bocce, right? It could be whatever you have in mind. It could be just a fitness day, but I doubt they want to do that. Now, if you are going to assess in week 2. So after that first week, you get to know them. Week 2, this is when you're going to assess, and then you want to reassess on either week 9 or week 8 before that last day. That last day, you don't want to really have to worry about assessment. So if you're going to do any physical assessment, object control assessment, locomotor assessment, do it in the first couple weeks, week 1 or 2, and then week 8 or 9, reassess. Okay, and at the last week, have some type of survey about satisfaction with your mentor, enjoyment toward the program, whether or not they want to come back, and then also open-ended questions like, what did you like and why? What did you dislike the most and why? And talk about how this has motivated you or not motivated you to be more physically active. However you want to write that out. You can use surveys with faces and frowns and kind of just mediocre faces, and then have a level 1, 3, and 5, and you have them survey and circle the picture that reflects the response. You would do that on week 10. Okay, so this is how you plan warm-ups and the sports section of your adaptive physical activity lesson plans. If you need activities for the warm-up stations, I have a whole playlist on the Dr. Weber Fit YouTube page, where I provide all my YouTube playlists for dynamic stretching, mobility, breathing, that type of thing. Body weight, plyometrics, sprint drills, reaction drills, so all your health-related fitness, muscular, endurance, core, that type of thing. When it comes to kickboxing, there's not a lot of good resources. I do have, if you just look up Jordan Weber Kickboxing, you can just play my videos if you want for your class. I have some just teacher-led ones that you can use. I also have some dynamic warm-ups. If you look up Jordan Weber Dynamic Warm-Up, and then if you look up Jordan Weber Pickleball or Jordan Weber Basketball, my videos should come up as well. So if you're looking for ideas for the different sports, just look up Jordan Weber Pickleball, Jordan Weber Volleyball, or Jordan Weber Education, or Jordan Weber Ed. I think it's on my Jordan Weber Ed page. So I think you do Jordan Weber Ed and then basketball, Jordan Weber Ed softball, Jordan Weber Ed ultimate frisbee. For ultimate frisbee, you probably won't do ultimate frisbee the game inside, but you could have some stations. So you could have like a can jam station, a station where they have to aim it at a specific area in the gym or person, or they do a partner drill. You could also have them aim it toward a hula hoop, or you could have frisbee golf. If you want to have a modified version of the game, you probably could. You just may need a little bit more space. That's my recommendations for ultimate. For football, I like to teach the same, so I like them to know that the center starts with the ball. So we do center skills. So we go through all the motions of all the players for football. For football, we will pretend that you're a center. You'll pretend that you're hiking it, and then you'll pretend that you're blocking the defender, the defensive tackle. So then they learn what a center is, they learn what a defensive tackle is right off the bat. And then who are you hiking it to? You're hiking it to your quarterback. So then you pretend that you're the quarterback. You do 5 to 10 reps each. These are the individual skills. They'd probably be scattered out for this. And then you give them a ball, and then you have them enact that same thing without throwing. So first would be center. So getting down, and that's a really good isometric squat position and flattened back. So you're kind of using your lower back as well as a core exercise. And you're getting them through the motions of squatting down, pretending to block. For quarterback, you get them in this position, get their arms extended because they're about to catch something, so they're learning again. Remember, I gotta have my arms extended when I'm catching, and then they ultimately wind up and do that rotation exercise, right? So this is when we get to really use rotational force and output. So if you want to do some med balls to stay on the wall during your warm-up, that would be a good idea. Or just using a yarn ball to throw at the wall, getting them warmed up to throw the football. Because footballs are a little bit dangerous, and so we do everything without the ball first. So center, then quarterback, then our receivers, we have them run in place, and then we have them pretend that they're catching the ball, bringing it in, whether it's up overhead, whether it's super low, and we do those in your own space. And then we have them pretend that they're the running back, okay, and maybe with them we're kind of run around the gym and try to dodge each other and not run in each other and spin around while you have the ball. And then we have them pretend that they're the kicker. You can have them pretend that they're the punter, so you're going through all the motions of kicking, telling them what the kicker's responsibility is for. So you go through each player individually, and that helps them learn, and then you just go through each skill. And you go through, catching and throwing, having them do a route, and then you throw it to them at the end of the route. But make sure it's a skilled person throwing it in route runs. And then, or you can have them practice with yarn balls for this one as well. Pickleball, volleyball, they're pretty much set up the same. Have them get a paddle if it's pickleball. Tennis, flipping a poly spot, or using a balloon over like a tennis net or a box or 2 cones or a jump rope, and they just kind of go back and forth with like a balloon, or a poly spot where they're flipping it, just getting some reps just holding on to the paddle. And then you go into bouncing the pickleball on the ground, or you go into the bump set and maybe some of the wall spiking skills. If you even want to do spiking, you might want to just ignore spiking because you want to try to get them as many volleys as possible. So if people are spiking the ball constantly, you won't get any volleys. So encourage volleys as opposed to gaining points. So make points be about how many volleys each team can get. Once you can get to 10 volleys, then make it competitive. But if you can't get 10 volleys, it shouldn't be competitive. So just focus on volleying. All right, so that's going to be the outline for how to teach adaptive physical activity. Remember, check out the videos, Dr. Weber Ed or Jordan Weber Ed on YouTube, sport, or the fitness title, and it should come up. All right, if you have any questions.